Everyone, others? I need some active vocal participation in today's class. Yes, Zed, you are typing in the chat as well. Okay, where were we?
So I think we finished the evolution here.
Yeah, let me see.
So you said you're gonna start chapter 8.
Okay, yeah, great. Yes, okay, so but I think the one last topic is left, which is human evolution, if I'm not wrong.
Yes.
Yeah, we have not done human evolution according to me. See the notes. If people don't want to study human evolution. Okay, can you see the screen that I'm sharing, everyone?
Yes, sir.
Okay, very well. So where did we start in the last class? I think we started from just we were doing the accounts, right? Summary of evolution in plants and then in animals, correct? And I dictated you quite a few things which you have written. Okay, so quickly, just a summary of plants and animals evolution. Very quick facts, very quick things that you have written and I have dictated. Fatima, how about you? Let's start. Are you there? Are you there, Fatima?
Yes, sir. In plants, the earliest ancestors were the chlorophyte ancestors.
Yes.
Which from the bryophytes were like they came from. And then after chlorophyte, there was the tracheophyte ancestors. And then after that was the Rhinia type plants, and then the Philosophyte.
Xylophyton. The P is silent here, okay? Xylophyton.
Yeah. From which almost all the plants right now.
Not all. Beyond horsetails. So horsetail, ferns, ginkgos, conifers, nettles, cycads, and angiosperms. They all come from Xylophyton lineage. And if you'll see lycopods and bryophytes, lycopods come after tracheophyte ancestors, and the earliest divergent happens for the bryophytes that have arisen after chlorophyte ancestors. Okay. So which is the most abundant and the most recently evolved plants? Fatima. Are you there, Fatima? Can you hear me? Am I audible, people? If my voice lags, please let me know. I think Fatima is not able to hear me. So Hannah, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Yes, can you continue? My question was, which are the most abundant and the most recently evolved plants on the planet today? Angiosperms, right? And angiosperms can be classified into two different monocots and dicots, and that is a base that comes on the basis of their seed structure. There are many other differences, but the word cotyledons come from the cotyledons of the seed, and if the seed has only one cotyledon, it's called monocotyledonous plants, and if it has two cotyledons, it is called dicotyledonous plants, about which you should go back to chapter 2 of your class 11th, biological classification of organisms, and please revise the plant and the animal part so that you can understand evolution better. Okay, everyone? Yes, Hannah, continue. For animals. Summary for the animal evolution.
I don't think I was there in the last class. I was only there till that, what is that? evolution of plants.
Evolution of plants. Okay, so for animal, let's go to someone who was present.
Lecture I was there, but this lecture I wasn't there.
Okay, so
But
let's go to.
I'll give it a try.
So you would like to try
Yeah.
summarizing it? Okay, cool. So the graph is in front of you.
Okay.
Yeah.
The earliest reptiles is carbonifers, and they have
No, these are evolutionary time periods. So what is on Y scale is the name of the period. Carboniferous was a period which was around 300 million years ago.
okay.
Carboniferous, it's called Carboniferous because the word comes from carbon. So major life that you see around us, life we say is carbon based, right? Because any life form, if you burn that life form, ashes are there. We are made up of carbon, lots and lots of carbon. And sugars have carbon, proteins have carbon, our nucleic acid has carbon, everything in the body is carbon based. So Carboniferous life, the life basically, lot of divergence and different species came up. Then Permian, Triassic, Jurassic, Cretaceous, Tertiary, and Quaternary. Triassic to Cretaceous was the period where dinosaurs were very, very dominant. You know, the Jurassic period is known as like dinosaurs period, the big reptiles they were. And then from Tertiary onwards, the dinosaurs started declining and mammals took over. And now the period that we live in today is the mammals rule. And in that mammal also, there is one mammal that has been at the top of ruling, and that's humans, Homo sapiens. So the current era that we live in, we call it Anthropocene geological period. The word Anthropocene, scene means era, Anthropocene means the era of human. So it's era of human. We are able of making, breaking, destroying a lot of things around us. We are the most influential species on the planet right now, both in a good way and in a bad way. Mostly in bad ways because we are not very, very what do we say, sensitive towards issues like global warming. Because it's not something that affects us on a daily life, but slowly it's affecting the whole planet, and ultimately one day there will be a catastrophe. So it is also believed by geologists and evolutionary biologists both together, and also anthropologists who study the effect of human activities on ecosystem and other things, that we are living in the we are moving towards the end of the 6th extinction event. 5 times in the history of the planet there has been mass extinctions. Mass extinctions is where more than 90% of the life, around like a major fraction, I'm not sure if it was 90% all the time, but the last that I remember, KT extinction phase, which was at the border of Cretaceous and Tertiary, that also took dinosaurs with it. So this line that I'm showing, that was an extinction event. It was very, very severe. And before that also there was a Permian Triassic event where extinction happened, and around more than 90% of the life just collapsed and died within few generations. They were just swiped away. So we are going towards the 6th extinction, and it is fueled by human activities, because ecology, the ecosystem, is a very fine, delicate balance. We often, those who do not study biology, even those who study biology, we often don't appreciate that there is a fine balance maintained in the ecosystem. So every organism, every species has a role to play. But we are getting rid of many species. We are making many species go extinct because we are getting into their territories. We are destroying their habitats. We are shortening their habitats, for that matter, because we are expanding urban areas for our own ease. So many things will suffer. And if animals will suffer, then plants will suffer. If plants will suffer, the water cycle will suffer. If water cycle will suffer, humans will have no water ultimately to drink. Even now, you know that many places in the world have water scarcity, right? At some places, water is sold costlier than even other fuels. So that's already visible. In the coming time, we will be short of drinking water. Okay, and because of deforestations, major arid, we are expanding arid regions. We are destroying jungles and making regions, arid regions, which will eventually turn into deserts and very, very dry habitats. So no animals will survive there. Eventually, no plants will survive there. Eventually, there'll be no water cycle, no rains, and humans will suffer. So it's not like we are supreme if we will destroy the balance, and it has always happened. When the extinction happens, mass extinction, the most dominant species suffers the most because that is the most populous also. So when dinosaurs ruled the planet and extinction happened, dinosaurs wiped out. So now humans are ruling the planet. So we have to be very careful and not very overconfident or over ambitious or egoistic about our existence. Anyways, so yes, sorry for hijacking your session, Hannah. Continue, just finish this.
It's okay, sir. Early reptiles were classified into two or divided into two. One was sauropods and
Sauropsids and synapsids.
Okay.
Yes.
And after that, the synapsids then started growing in the Permian period.
So all of them went through these periods. So these are just geological periods. What you have to focus more on, the divergence, the branching descent, right? So you're right. Synapsids and sauropsids were two major branches that arose from the early reptiles. So somewhere you see all sorts of life. All the reptiles and all the birds and mammals, they basically somewhere are related to early reptiles, right? But mammals have exclusively evolved from one branch called synapsids. And rest other reptiles have evolved from sauropsids, including dinosaurs and birds. And if you look at this junction here, where I have written Archaeopteryx, this is a living, not living, this is extinct dinosaur who was a connecting link between birds and reptiles. So which proves that birds evolved later from reptiles, from dinosaurs. Okay, yes, continue.
Sir, you already explained it.
Yeah, okay, sorry. So just to save some time, let me also tell you that here we do not see any amphibians, right? The graph starts from turtles, which are reptiles, water reptiles, because we are starting the graph from early reptiles onwards. And early reptiles onwards, so first kind of life that evolved, multicellular life, evolved in water. And they were the early life, like fish and ancestors of fish, early fish, which later on became the fish that we see today. And from some of the ancestors that diverged, some became the modern fish, some started going out of water and became ancestors of amphibians. So what is the difference between a fish and an amphibian, if you'll tell me? Anyone from your junior classes knowledge? What is the difference? Sorry? Sorry, come again.
Amphibians live in land and water, while fishes live purely in water.
Yes, but how do we know? Like whatever I say can be just a story, like a folklore made up of someone's minds. How do we say that fish, some of the fish ancestors developed into amphibians or evolved into amphibians? How?
Fish the amphibians, how to say, babies, I guess, they have small signs of tails, like, you know.
Yes, yeah. So that is one embryological early development evidence for evolution, you can say. You're right. Let me elaborate what Hannah is trying to say. Hannah is saying that, have you ever looked at the babies of a frog? Frog is amphibian, right? But frog babies are called tadpoles, and they do not look like frogs, do they?
No, sir.
What do they look like? They look like fish, small tiny fish, right? They have tails, they don't have legs and hands, their body is cylindrical like a fish. As they develop, the tail shortens and the limbs develop and they become frog and they come out of water. So amphibians, write down, amphibians' life cycle depends both on land and water. Fish life cycle entirely depends on water. It is born in water, brought up in water, reproduces in water, lives in water, dies in water. Amphibians, on the other hand, lay eggs in the water. So their babies have to start life in the water. When they become adult, they move out of water for foraging, finding food, etc. They mate there, and again to reproduce and to mate, they come near or in the water, and then again lay eggs in the water. So their eggs cannot survive. So you can keep writing these things. So amphibian eggs cannot survive without water. Okay, because they lay soft eggs without shell. So they do not have egg shell on their eggs. They are jelly-like soft eggs, which can only be laid in water. So that's where your frogs always lay eggs in or near water. Okay. So that's the difference between a fish and an amphibian. What is the difference between an amphibian and a reptile? Quick. Which I have discussed here. Reptiles are capable of existence outside water completely. Their life cycle does not depend on water. Though there are some reptiles who went back to water and adapted to live in water. For example, turtles. Turtles are reptiles. They're not amphibians, but they have adapted to live in water. But the difference here is turtles will not lay eggs in the water because they are not amphibians. They have a shell, hard shell on their eggs. They always lay eggs outside the water, but near the water body, somewhere outside, but near the water. Because when the babies will hatch, they automatically move towards water because they have flippers to swim. Okay, so they have adapted for water, though it is not, for them, it is a necessity now, but for reptiles, their life cycle does not depend on water. Alligators, yes, alligators also do the same thing. Crocodiles, alligators, they all are reptiles. So that's the difference between amphibian and reptiles, that amphibians have a hard shell covering on their eggs and they can survive in the sun. Amphibian's egg in the sun will desiccate and dry off and die. Okay, so this is what we did in the last class. Okay, cool everyone? Is it okay? Shall I move forward? Do you have any questions?
Yes.
Yes, please ask the questions. Yes, Zed, shoot up. What is your question?
So no question.
Okay, I thought you said yes. So.
Yes.
Okay. Again, you said yes. You are saying yes for what? Okay, and let me move to the last part of this chapter, which is origin and evolution of human. Okay, I'm not a very big fan of using the word man because that's a very biased word, because man excludes woman from the concept. So you can use the word human. Homo sapiens does not mean wise man, it means wise human. Or mankind, instead of mankind, you can use humankind, because there is nothing like manity, right? It's humanity. We are humans. So origin and evolution of human, including both men and women. Now about humans, we know that we are the most evolved in terms of our brain and our ability to do things, and especially our cognitive ability, our learning and our intelligence. But we also originated and evolved from something. Now there is a common myth prevailing in the way we understand evolution is not correct. And I think I started the chapter with this, that we often, all of us, have this perception that humans evolved from monkeys, right? Or chimpanzees, correct? You've heard of it? Yeah, which is not true. Because if that is true, then you can expect all the chimpanzees to someday become human, but they will never become human any day in life. They can become more and more intelligent. They may become something like us, but they still will be another species of chimpanzee. They will never be human, okay? Because we are different as a species. So what happened? Where did we came from? That is the question. So as we said, as I've shown you, that for animals, we come to this clan. So they have shown tiger as a representative of mammals here. It could have been any other mammal. Mammals are of two different types for that matter. One are called primates and non-primates. Primates are those who have the ability to be bipedal, either temporary or permanent, but they can stand on their 2 foot and they have they can use their other 2 appendages for something else. Okay, and non-primates are for those all the 4 appendages are used for locomotion and walking. They cannot stand or walk on 2 feet basically. There are other differences as well, but to begin with, this is the most basic one. We belong to the primates. Okay, and along with us there are chimpanzees, gorillas, rhesus, other monkeys and macaques, which also belong to primates. But where did we come from? So earliest, here we'll talk about only the species or the ancestors related to humans. So very back earliest, the back in time, around let's say 15 million years ago, 15 to 16, that these dates are actually revised. So NCERT does not talk about all the species of Homo that we know about today. They have just taken some landmark species, and I can assure you that there were more than that in the history of humankind, and we have the latest belief on the basis of fossil records and proofs that DNA evidences that we have got. So humans are not very old. So if you can find the teeth, skull bone of any species that was either Homo sapien or Homo Neanderthal or any other Homo species, from that DNA you can from the tooth you can extract the DNA. DNA is very well preserved in the teeth bone and in the bigger bones. Okay, so by DNA studies, by looking at their genome and by looking at the structure, anatomy of the bones that has been dug, we now know that there were multiple human species living, and probably living at the same time also. So they were sharing the same region at the same time, and constantly there was a tussle between them. Just like and we were the most intelligent of the species of the mammals, so we used to hunt. We were like hunting. We were predators to many preys. When we could not hunt, where we could not hunt, and we were in competition with other mammals like tigers and lions, then humans could also eat tubers and other things. So very early, around 15 million years ago, the earliest ancestors that we have found evidences for were for primates. So the primates group was divided into 2 parts. One were called Dryopithecus, and the other was called Ramapithecus. Ramapithecus. Okay. Now they were not at all anywhere near human-like. They were not us. Okay. So humans came very late. I'll tell you when. As a species, we are the last sustaining species of the genus Homo. But as a genus, there were other Homos, and I'll tell you where do they come. So Dryopithecus were more ape-like or monkeys-like characters. So basically they were the ancestors. So you can write down Dryopithecus. Dryopithecus were more ape-like. By more, I mean that both were like different from humans. Even Ramapithecus was not at all anything looking like a current human. But if you see closer characters of their anatomy, the kind of bone structure they had, they were short. They were very, very small as compared to today's human, but they were more human-like if you compare it with the Dryopithecus, like the characters. Okay. So it's clear that Dryopithecus went up to give rise to the monkeys. Okay, different monkeys that are their rhesus and other monkeys, gorillas, baboons. But Ramapithecus, being more human-like, and their characters were, they were very hairy. So write down Ramapithecus, both Dryopithecus and Ramapithecus, both were, the body was covered with hair, full hair covering on the body. Now humans only have hairs on some softer tissues, but majorly on the chest area, in the pubic region, on the face, facial hairs, on the head. And also sometimes human have hair on their arms and legs, but that's not that dense like the hair of other monkeys. Okay. But the fact that we have hair makes us closer to Ramapithecus. So they and they used to walk like gorillas and chimpanzees. Have you ever seen a chimpanzee walking in any documentary or anything? Anyone has seen a chimpanzee walking?
Yes.
No? Yes. How does it walk?
So very like not sturdy, but not upright, not fully upright, but it's like.
But it has the potential to walk upright,
Yeah.
right, on the two legs. And you will, if you notice, both for chimpanzees and gorillas, their lower limb, the legs basically, they are smaller than their hands. Their hands are very big as compared to their legs, right? So even if they stand erect, so a chimpanzee looks something like this. So this is the head, and there is a big body, and you say that this leg is smaller, and sorry, I made it very long. So they are always at an angle like this. So you see, this is the body of a chimpanzee. So they have small legs, but they have very big hands, right? And they just need to bend a little to put their hands down. So they walk on their hand knuckles as well, right? So this is how they put their hand down. So if you see these knuckles, so our knuckles are not padded, but the knuckles of chimpanzee are padded, right? Because they just walk on their knuckles. So they keep their hand like this. They don't keep it like this. So their palm never touches the ground. What touches is their knuckles. So they take the support of their knuckles and walk. They can stand upright. That's why they are primates. But still, that's not how humans walk. So Ramapithecus were more in walking and style like chimpanzees and gorillas. This is where the misconception, I believe, has arisen, that we have arisen from chimpanzees. But Ramapithecus were not chimpanzees. Chimpanzees are also a very, very evolved species, a different species that live with us now on the planet. So chimpanzees will come very late, and probably they'll come from this Dryopithecus branch. Just like sauropsids and synapsids. Do you understand, everyone?
Yes.
Yes or no? Yeah. So you always remember, then this Ramapithecus, write down. And these fossils of Dryopithecus and Ramapithecus, they have been found majorly in Africa, probably in the East Africa. Okay. So East Africa is where we have found the earliest fossils. They are scattered all around the Africa and Asia also, which shows that they came out of the African continent, and also because the African continent is connected to the Eurasian continent, the Europe and the Asia, through the Middle East region. So they probably wandered out and spread. So that's why the East Africa is known as the cradle of human civilization. CRA. Cradle of human civilization. So if you have to give an answer, this is where we come from. Okay. Now we will not talk about Dryopithecus here because they are more ape-like, so they were not direct, like indirectly. They were not our direct ancestors. Hannah, what is the question? What is the portion before origin of evolution? Sorry, I did not got the question.
No, like what is the portion, like after the
After the
But after the summary of evolution in animals,
Uh-huh.
there was one more portion, right? One more topic.
No, I think after animals, we are starting just the human evolution. This is the last one. We did plants, animals, and now we have come to a specialized part of evolution, which is human evolution.
No, we were talking about amphibians and all those things also.
Yeah, that comes in animals because they are animals, right? Here.
But can I just take a screenshot of it? Because like that's
Okay, this one you want?
From the beginning, so just 1 minute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So because the graph only starts from here, the reptiles. I just told you before the reptiles, they were invertebrates, and then there was fish, which were jawless. Then they became all that.
The video it wasn't given, that's why.
Okay. Yes. You taken a screenshot?
Yes, sir. From birds conditions.
Take this one as well. This summarizes everything. And you can see that there is also branching descent happening at different intervals.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah. Okay. So now let's continue with the Ramapithecus branch. So Ramapithecus went on, right on. So the first human-like, if something is human-like, we call it hominid or humanoid. So hominid features started developing more and more from Ramapithecus onwards. And how do we know that? The humans do not belong to Dryopithecus branch, but belongs to Ramapithecus branch. Again, it comes from fossil, careful anatomical studies of the fossil, and also the genetic studies from the DNA that has been recovered from these fossils. Now, from here onwards, the hominid features developed. Okay, but still, after Ramapithecus, what came was Australopithecus, or it's called Australopithecine in your book, but it's Australopithecus. They also evolved in Africa only. Okay, but still you do not see the word Homo, right? So our genus has not yet started. They're just becoming more and more hominid in their features, in their behavior. They could not speak. Yes, Anna.
Is that homin features?
Hominid.
What is
Hominid means human-like, more and more human-like, like different from monkeys and closer towards human.
Okay.
So just, for example, chimpanzees show the most hominid features in the animal kingdom.
Okay.
Right? Humans are, of course, they have to show human-like features because we are human, right? But apart from humans, when we see such features or behaviors in other organisms in evolution, we call it hominid features. Okay.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much. Sir.
Yeah. Yeah. So you can ask. You don't have to thank me every time because that's what my job is. Okay, to answer your questions and discuss with you. You can avail me. I'm a subscription. I'm like a subscription to you. Ask any number of times, any questions, no problem. Feel free to interrupt me anytime if you don't understand anything. So write down. So the hominid features, write down the hominid. Okay, I was talking about Eastern Africa. So before that, write down the fossils from Ethiopia. If I remember it correct, it's Ethiopia. The fossils from Ethiopia in East Africa revealed hominid features in the fossils found. Hominid features in the fossils found, and this suggests that man-like primates, okay, so Australopithecus were also man-like primates. So man-like primates were present in Africa around 3 million years ago. Around 3 million years ago. 3 to 4. You can just give. Okay. The fossils found suggests that man-like primates walked in Eastern Africa or were present in Eastern Africa around 3 to 4 million years ago. Now they were very short, they were short, not more than, none of the fossils that have been found that early were more than 4 feet tall. So they were very short fossils. But they could walk upright. Their anatomy suggested that they could walk upright. And you can actually tell that if an organism is able to walk upright just by looking at their microstructure or the careful observation of their hip girdle and the hip bones and the leg bones. Okay, if you see the difference between a monkey and a human, a lot of similarities there, but if you look at their spinal cord and their hip girdle, the hip bones, you will realize that why we can walk upright, whereas other organisms, other non-primates cannot, or even other primates cannot with that ease. Okay. So write down 2 million years ago. After that, 2 million years ago, the presence of Australopithecus. The presence of Australopithecus 2 million years ago. The presence of Australopithecus was there in Eastern Africa. Okay, and these fossils comes from grassland areas. So now in grasslands, you do not. So if an organism is evolving in grassland, it has to have a very different lifestyle from those which are evolving in other like forests or jungles or these places. So from Eastern Africa's grasslands, fossils of Australopithecus have been found. Okay. Now, along with, and they mostly, so Australopithecus could use tools. So they were the first kind of organisms. So use of tools to hunt. And these are simple tools, like using a club or a stick as a beating thing, or making sharp edges of stones, or using sharp edged stones to cut the meat. Yes, Hannah. Eastern Africa has a lot of different species fossil that is connected to human evolution. That's why we call it more than any other region on the planet. That's why we call it the cradle of human civilization, and it is believed yet to date with conviction that though humans later on diverged and spread to almost every continent except for the Antarctica, every mainland, but they evolved in Africa majorly. Okay.
So it's also said that it has been in Egypt also, right, sir? Like,
Egypt is in Eastern Africa only, right?
yeah, but like most
Egypt is an African country. Yeah.
yeah, it is
yeah.
like most of the region have seen Egypt.
Most of what?
Fossils.
Yes, but many fossils have been found from either Europe and also from Asian region, but I'm talking about the diversity of the fossils.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, so you will see Ramapithecus also, you will see Australopithecus also, in between also. So it's not like after Ramapithecus directly came Australopithecus. There are species in between which NCERT does not talks about, but they are just sudden changes, subtle changes where you believe that it is not exactly Ramapithecus and it has not evolved enough to be Australopithecus, but there is something which is sharing the these regions as well. Just like for tigers, there are many species of tigers living today on the planet, right? Though many of them are endangered and at the verge of extinction, so we have to take care of them. But we have Bengal tiger, we have Siberian tiger, we have the Mandarin tiger, which is found in China, and we have other tigers, Eurasian tiger, other tigers from different parts of the world, right? But all are tiger species. But they are different species of the same genus. Okay. Same is for, they all belong to the genus Leo. So Leopanthera, Leotigris, Leopardus, they all are different species of the big cat family. Similarly, there were different species of this group, which was man-like, human-like, hominid group. Now, Australopithecus, in the same region where Australopithecus was found, but I'm talking about the Eastern Africa, there were also fossils found, which looks very different from Australopithecus. And so Australopithecus used the tools, but they majorly ate fruit. So one theory also suggests that hunting was not evolved for these species just to eat, because they could not find. They were very happy and contented by eating fruit. So they were fruit-eating species, mainly vegetarians. So why they started hunting? What can you think? Why they started hunting or killing? If they could eat to survive, why? What kind of survival?
Like, sir,
If they
like other predators, when they attack, we have to protect themselves, my son.
Yes, right. So killing might also have started because we had to protect ourselves, right? So we started becoming like predators, killing the predators. But also, once we started eating the flesh, we became carnivorous or omnivorous for that matter. And how can you know that one species depended majorly on fruits and other species started eating flesh very well? What kind of signs, changes will you see? You will see the changes in their dentine, right? Humans are by nature, by instincts, omnivorous. We are omnivorous organisms. We are kind of designed by evolution to eat both. And we actually, in fact, cannot rely just on plant leaves, okay, the green parts of the plant, because leaves contain cellulose, and we do not have the enzyme which digests cellulose in our body. That's called cellulase. So we don't have cellulase, but we have enzymes that digest flesh and sugar, carbohydrate both, which is called amylase, and other enzymes like proteases and peptidases, which digest the protein in the flesh. So basically, and also if you see our dentine, if you see a cat's dentine or a dog's dentine, they have very big canines, right? Pointed canines. Four, like two up and two down. They have these very, very prominent canines with which they tear the flesh. So we have incisors, canines, and molars, premolars and molars. So I'm counting them as molars. So molars are for grinding, incisors are for cutting, and canines are for tearing. So you will feel that. How many of you have had an apple? Not cut into pieces, but an entire apple. How do you eat an apple? You use your incisors, the front teeth, right? To hold on to the apple and tear it. Yes or no?
Yeah.
But how do you eat if you're non-vegetarian? How do you eat a flesh? Do you eat it the same way that you eat apple? You shift towards the side slightly, like even for like anything, you shift it slightly towards the side, right? Because you have to tear things. And we eat cooked flesh, so it's even softer. So you just can put it in the mouth and directly give it to molars to chew. But imagine in wild, when you are tearing something, you use your canines, right, to go deep inside and tear it for you. We still have canines. If you go and look at goat, cow, deer, buffalo's dentine, they don't have canines. In fact, all their teeth are almost like same. They may have incisors, a little less molar type to cut, like to just graze. When they are grazing on the grass, they are cutting with their front teeth, and they are putting back in the mouth to chew. So basically they have to just cut and chew. They don't have to tear, but predators have to tear. That's the sign, the entire sign, that humans are not born and evolved to just rely on plant sources. Yes, Hannah, you mean the ancestors, right? Of course, our ancestors did eat raw flesh, and even in fact today there are many tribal regions where eating raw flesh is still there, because fire is not a luxury everywhere. Fire is not present. To cook, you need fire. Tribals do not have LPG connections in their huts. So we cook food. We have microwave and other things to cook food as Homo sapiens. But even in Homo sapiens, many tribal Homo sapiens still eat raw flesh today, like in 2022 also in Africa, and even in India's tribal areas. And if you go to Andaman, Nicobar, and these secluded islands, so their tribals also cooked flesh was unlocked later on in evolution, and that is also regarded as one of the regions that human brain developed and evolved so much. What is the difference between a raw food and a cooked food? Do you know that? So it's a theory. Yes, Hannah, their stomach won't hurt because they are not as fragile as us. So they are eating from the wild. They are not eating, they're not shopping from, malls and vegetable shops. Then they're not washing their vegetables, cutting and cooking and serving in clean plates and eating. They're more rough and tough. They're like wild. A tiger's stomach never hurt when a tiger is eating a deer which is dying on a soil. So it's just eating anything. Okay, so they can digest. Yeah, so their stomach didn't hurt. We are more adapted to soft and nutritious food. So the moment we will get something which is not that soft or which is very raw and not very nutritious, our stomachs will not just accept it. So that's adaptation in nature we have gone through. But what I was saying is that, yes, the difference between a raw and a cooked food. Any idea, people? What happens when you cook the food? Why do we cook the food? We don't just cook the food because it becomes more tasty and we can mix spices with it. All of that is just a very modern adaptation which humans have evolved because we are the most intelligent species. What does cooking do to a food scientifically?
It kills all the pathogens in the food.
But that's not why we are cooking the food. We have been eating the food with pathogens all our life. We had no problem, like all our evolutionary history. All of a sudden, we cannot have problem with the pathogens, right? From now onwards, I'll cook the food because I don't like the pathogens. Pathogens are not doing anything to the tiger. In fact, they have accustomed. Have you seen a dog, a stray dog, drinking water from any source present, sometimes even from a sewer?
Yes, sir.
And have you ever seen that dog having viral fever or stomach poisoning or food poisoning the next day?
No, sir.
No, right? But we cannot even imagine a human drinking even a drop of that water. We will just die. So think evolutionarily. What does food do apart from killing the pathogens? Now it is a necessity for us because we cannot tolerate certain pathogens and their attack. And you're right. Maybe in the history also, the earlier species also were not able to tolerate it well. That's why the life expectancy was very less. They were more prone to diseases, infections, etc., etc. Even before the invention of antibiotics, people just used to die because of a pimple, because that pimple or that small wound will get bacterial infection and people will die. Imagine someone dying due to pimple infection. Today it will be just a mockery. Like it will be sad, but more than sad, it will be funny. How can someone die with just a pimple? But earlier it wasn't before, because now we have antibiotics. If you have any wound, any infection, you can just go get azithromycin, and take either a tablet or take something like soframycin and apply it on the wound. and you will not have infection and the wound will heal properly. So these antibiotics don't make the wound heal faster. Wound heals, but they do not allow the wound while it's healing to be infected. You understand? Of course, there are other things that can make wound heal faster, but anyways. So yes, Atif, any other innovative idea that can come to your head? What food does, what cooking does to the food? Suppose the same food that you are eating, if you start eating it raw, like rice, chapati, what will happen? It's still the same nutrition, right? But what happens after cooking? The food becomes softer and many nutrients get unlocked. We can chew it and break it even into smaller and smaller parts with ease, and we can extract more nutrition from the same quantity of food. You understand what I'm saying? So cooking unlocks a lot of nutritional value for the food. Overcooking does the opposite. It destroys, it burns. So you should cook the food. You should never overcook or undercook the food. So that's also something. But cooking anyways unlocked nutritional value for the food, and that's where human brain, which needs more and more nutrition than any other organ of the body, started getting that nutrition from the food and started becoming bigger and better. So that's one of the reasons for better brain development in humans. There are many other genetic reasons also attributed. So there is one gene that was responsible for bigger brains in humans over the course of evolution, which has been figured out, but eating cooked food was also one of the reasons. Okay, and we believe that it happened by chance, not by choice. Like our ancestors did not one day realize that let's cook food, and it might have happened by chance through something, maybe just by some organism must have died in a wildfire, and then they would have tasted the burnt flesh and they would have realized, oh, this is nice, we never tried that. So from next day onwards, not next day, but after that onwards, it could have evolved as a behavior to prefer to eat cooked food, that is a cooked food, or food which is burnt in fire. Okay, anyways, and of course it tastes better. So Australopithecus, write down. Australopithecus essentially ate fruit, and the first human-like organisms. Now we are talking about the Homo genus. The first human-like organisms might have evolved from Australopithecus in Africa only, and were called Homo Habilis. So because their fossil records are found very close to Australopithecus, like in the same region, not very close, but in the same geographical location, but they vary in geological time. If you date these two fossils, you will find that Australopithecus are older than Homo habilis. Homo habilis are very, very later, but they are present in the same area. It's not like you don't find Homo habilis anywhere else. You find that because even Australopithecus roamed around. Okay. So Homo habilis, as you can see, the Homo genus have started. We are Homo sapiens. So write down. Homo habilis used to have bigger brains. So the brain unlocking, the brain size development started. So Homo habilis had bigger brain. And how do we measure brain's volume? In cubic centigrade, cc. So just to put you in context, 1 cc means if you make a cube. So cube have all the sides same. So if you make a cube of 1 centimeter, you understand what I'm saying? 1 centimeter cube. Okay. So the amount of volume that you can fill, the volume of this 1 centimeter cube is 1 cubic centigrade. Okay. So Homo habilis had a brain capacity somewhere between 650 to 800 cc. Cc is still used. You must have heard it in automobiles, right? XYZ cc engine. Have you heard this? 400 cc engine. Never heard of cc? People?
I think I've heard it in architecture.
Where in architecture you heard? Oh, you must have, like cc, but be sure that you're not talking about centimeter cm. You're talking about cc. It's the volume. Okay.
Like in pool areas and all.
Yes, yeah, probably yes, but I think liters will be a better to make pool. No, cc will be in like just millions of
I've
cc.
heard the adults talk about it, so I'm not sure. Yeah.
Okay, okay. And just if you are measuring volume in that context, yes, you must have heard cc, because for brain capacities we use this term. It's a metric unit. It's simple. It's not in biology. It's just a mathematical unit. Now, Homo habilis, by their fossil records and their dentine structure and their feeding habits, they were mostly vegetarian. Yes.
Homo habilis brain capacity was like how much?
650. It's written here. 650 to 800 cc.
Oh, okay. I thought
Yeah. Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah. Okay. So they were majorly vegetarian, as far as we can predict. Okay. Now, next, when we move, we start finding fossils from a place called Java. And because of this, many fossils found from Java are also known as cavemen or Java man. Okay, and they were called Homo erectus. Now, these were the first one to walk like humans with free hands. You know, when a human walks, the two hands are free. If he or she is not holding anything in the hand, you can realize that we use the two hands to balance when we are walking, right? Especially when we are running. So the faster we want to go, the more important the role of hand becomes, especially in dancing. Have you ever felt that when you are doing all sorts of gymnastics and dancing, this hand has a very important balancing act? Or when you are throwing something, or when you are applying force. So with one hand we swing. Have you seen cricketers bowling? So they first generate all the force with front hand, they swing it, then the back hand comes with the ball. If I ask you to bowl with one hand in the pocket, it will be very difficult. And if I ask someone to run faster with both hands in the pocket, it will be very difficult, right? Clear? Do you understand? Yes, no, something. So don't listen to a story. Ask, contest. I'm talking about us now. Don't just accept everything I'm saying as it is. Though I'll not say wrong things, but you should ask for clarifications and proofs. So Homo erectus had even bigger brain, and the fossils goes as back as 1.5 million years ago. So you see, from Australopithecus to Homo erectus, it happened very fast. Australopithecus were around 2 million years ago, and Homo erectus were around 1.5 million years ago. And from there were many other Homo species. And Homo erectus, write down the brain capacity increases slightly around 900 cc from 800. Okay. And Homo habilis were vegetarian, but we saw this shift that Homo erectus were interestingly non-vegetarians. They eat flesh, and they were better hunters than gatherers. So there were two types of human cultures that evolved: hunters and gatherers. Have you seen monkeys? Monkeys are more of gatherers. You know that? They steal, pluck, gather, and eat. Yes? Monkeys don't hunt. Humans also vegetarian humans. Humans also now we are cultivators. We are farmers. Okay, but at one point of time we were hunter-gatherers. So the shift between gatherers and hunters happened more during the Erectus period, and we saw that they are primarily depending on meat, flesh as a diet. Okay. And there are many prehistoric caves that have been found throughout, and because they were intelligent beings, so we were intelligent, we will not sleep, and we were also, as I think Hannah said this, right, that we started killing not just to eat, but to also protect ourselves, right? You will kill something that is a danger to you, yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, but apart from killing, if you don't want, but in a conflict, the chances of you getting killed is also there, right? Because any predator, let's say a lion or a tiger, is going to be as ferocious or even more ferocious and stronger than you, because humans don't have claws, humans don't have teeth, they don't have that brute force which tigers and lions have. But what do humans have that tigers don't have?
Hands.
Sorry, thumbs.
Hands.
Sense. Tigers have a lot of.
Hands.
Then hands.
Yeah.
So we'll just punch the tiger, right, with the hands, boom, boom, and
No,
then?
no. You can make weapons and all those things myself.
exactly. So more than hands, we have brains, right? Bigger brains. We are
yeah.
more intelligent.
Yeah,
We can find ways to protect ourselves, and one of that way is to live in groups and live in caves where there is one entry which you can actually either seal or protect. Two can just stay there as guards and protect these people living inside. So many cave civilizations have been found, and that's where the wall paintings in caves, cultures of burying their dead, it all started with Homo erectus onwards. We started seeing that we found some of the fossils with some unique graves. They were not just fossils who got trapped in the soil. They were properly buried with their hands properly folded and some vessels around it. You know, some kind of ritual must have been done. Some fossils had metals around it, and probably, you know, it was their weapon. So if a warrior died, they were buried in a different manner than a normal folk died, versus a royal, a king died from that tribe. So all these led rise to cultures from there onwards. In India, there are some interesting caves that have been found in Madhya Pradesh, and they are still being studied, and for a lot of new discoveries about how cultures started shaping up, how the culture of worshipping, which led to the evolution of religions, and all different sorts of religion started with humanity, because you will find different kind of rituals or different kind of idols, half human, half animal kind of things, buried along with human fossils, which tells that it was a civilization which used to believe in some or the other form of supernatural existence or god. The concept is they used to do rituals, which is like equivalent to the worshipping that we do today in different religions. So all this started coming up when species of humans started becoming better and better. Okay. Yes, Hannah. Even before that, mammoths used to live. So mammoths, Hannah is asking, like, do mammoths used to live when Homo erectus were there? Yes, even before that. And there are many other big mammals which used to live. So mammoths are mastodons, basically she's talking about. We call them mammoths collectively. Mastodons are the ancestors of elephant, which have very big tusks. So their head is very big. So their front half body is bigger than their back half body. Elephants are quite balanced, but if you see mammoths, so elephants is like this. If I draw the body of an elephant, it's like this with big ears, right? You understand the structure, everyone? Quite good, no? Cute. But mammoths, on the other hand, were very big, and they used to like look something like this. They were heads like this, and they had great tusks. So you see that their first half was bigger than their second half, unlike the elephants of today. Make sense? Well, I am proud of myself. My drawing skills are getting better. Anyways, not that proud even. Yes, they also had bigger ears, not to forget. But they were very big. Okay, they were, and you know, there's been a fossil found of mammoth trapped in ice, and it's as fresh as a fresh killed mammoth. You can even study the tissue, and the hair are also preserved. So the best thing when something get trapped in ice is it does not degenerates. It does not degenerates or degrades by bacterial infection. It's like you storing the flesh in deep freezer. You understand? We often store flesh in deep freezer, right? Or the peas, any vegetable also you can do that, or flesh especially you can store in deep freezer and it will not rot. So a full mammoth baby species specimen was found trapped and died, who died due to being trapped in ice avalanche maybe. So it's preserved, even the tissue is preserved. And that was beautiful when the news came out. It's quite some time now. I was a kid, I was in school when it happened. You heard, so Hannah heard that you can speak up, Hannah, some of these things, you know. Feel free to bring these things up. Where did you hear it? Any of your friends who are scientists who are trying to bring back mammoths?
No, sir. I like in Brightside, I guess. They were like
What is Brightside?
Brightside
Sorry,
is a channel, sir. A YouTube
Brightside is
channel.
the
A YouTube
okay.
channel.
No, okay.
Like in there, they were like animals, like 10 animals which scientists are trying to bring. One of them was the mammoth, and what is that?
My God, 10. Which are the other 9? Any other
Oh,
species
That's saber.
you remember? I think these are just fan, like these are I'll not say it cannot happen, but scientists are not interested in doing that, you know, because what's the point?
So they did
They
like corona, right? Corona is actually like from the iceberg.
sorry, what did they bring up?
The COVID-19, sir. Actually, I even heard that COVID-19, there are 7 different varieties, many more COVID-19s, like variants of COVID-19 in one iceberg.
Who told you? I'm not. I have no idea about this thing. Maybe if you find it, please send it to the group what you're talking about. But corona is not something that we brought up. We can never bring up. So viruses can be genetically engineered, but COVID is not one of those viruses which is genetically engineered and brought up. Corona is a family of viruses. Coronaviruses do exist. Coronaviruses, in fact, are a very common group of viruses being studied by scientists all over the world from last 70, 80 years. It was first figured out in 1950s or 60s, if I'm not wrong. And since then, many types of coronaviruses. In fact, you remember SARS was a epidemic that started in the Asian region, SARS.
Yeah.
And in Middle East, there was a epidemic that was called MERS, Middle East Respiratory Syndrome. That was a virus that started spreading diseases in camels, and from camels it started spreading into humans. And it was only endemic to the Middle East region because that is the region where camels mostly live in close proximity with humans. So MERS and SARS, they were both COVID viruses. So SARS is called coronavirus. It's called SARS-CoV-1. So SARS-CoV-1, and the current virus that has created this COVID-19 pandemic is called SARS-CoV-2. So it's a close cousin of the same virus. So viruses do mutate and form strains. It's not a big thing in that. It's not what scientists have brought back. It's just a virus that was living in bats and pangolins as a reservoir, and somehow it started through zoonotic spread from animals to humans. It started understanding our cells, started recognizing our lung cells, and attacked the lung cells of human and started replicating in that. So a disease called COVID infection occurred. It always happens. Some viruses jump hosts. Okay, that's called zoonotic spreads or zoonotic viruses, which come from animals to humans. There are human to humans also. Okay, viruses that infect a human and then go to another human. Okay, but that's not what scientists have brought up, and they are not even interested in bringing back mammoth or saber-tooth. So don't worry, because there's no point in doing that. What is the point? Saber-tooth lived in a completely different ecosystem. Mammoths used to live in completely different ecosystem millions of years ago. Now the ecosystem has changed. Now when they left, for that matter, if you bring back dinosaurs, it does not make sense, because when dinosaurs were there, it was a reptile dominated world. The earth had a different ecosystem altogether. The predators were reptiles. Mammals used to run away from reptiles and used to predate on other small mammals, but reptiles used to predate mammals in that era. Now mammals are the top predators in every food chain. If you see a jungle, it's tiger or a lion, hyena, wild dogs, jackals, wolves. They're all mammals. You will barely see a reptile at the top of the food chain anywhere. If not for like some water lakes, let's say, where alligator is that prime predator, but it's very close, very what do you say, a local niche. Okay, so all these are science fiction things spread through channels, so don't believe in them first. Second thing, what I was saying, yes, let's come back to human thing. So Homo erectus were non-vegetarian, but it's possible. Yes, you're right. It's possible to do that because we are capable of making hybrids organisms, but they are a danger to the ecosystem. If we can do something, and we should do something, is to conserve what we have right now, instead of bringing back what is extinct, because that will not serve any important purpose to restore the ecosystem. Imagine in a jungle you make a dinosaur and leave it. What will happen? It's a disaster, right?
Yes, sir.
There's nothing to cross-check the dinosaur, but dinosaur will just scare off every system. Tigers will not come out to predate. When they will come out, the dinosaurs can just a T-Rex. Imagine a T-Rex in a wildlife sanctuary or any jungle. It's going to be a disaster. Okay, but imagine what we are losing. Like tigers are getting extinct, so we can conserve them. We can use the resources and money to conserve what we have currently, so that doesn't get extinct, to maintain the balance. Now, from Homo erectus, you can see, so write down, the next comes Neanderthal, Homo Neanderthal. Again, and these are the ones which have even bigger brain, 1400 cc. This is quite big. This is very much like us, as big brain capacity as humans have. And from there onwards, Homo Neanderthals are known for their cultural activity, burying their dead, doing rituals, but still they're not sapiens, they're Neanderthals. They are also known as Cro-Magnon man. Okay, they used to live in caves. They used to wear hides of animals to protect their body. Okay, so they were cave dwellers. So the concept of not being a wanderer and to be, to buy a property. So this is my house. They're not buying it from someone there, but they're claiming the house. So they live in cave. So they have a concept of, yes.
Even Homo erectus was cave dwellers, right?
Yes. Their fossils also have been found in caves, but but Neanderthals showed more of cultural activities than erectus. So they buried their dead. They started wearing hides as clothes. So the concept of clothes. Now this must not have come up. So humans started wearing clothes not because they started feeling ashamed of them being naked, but because it protects you better from changing climate. Because now humans were not living in Africa only, where just the day-night fluctuation and the summer-winter is not that different. Basically, what they are bearing is heat. So if they are naked and if the hair is lost from the body, you can bear the heat better because you can sweat. When you can sweat, your body temperature can cool down. But wearing clothes was more of protective behavior than to be like what it is now. So today, wearing clothes is an essential etiquette that we teach the kids. It's not good to be roam around naked in a civilized society, so we wear clothes. But none of the other animals do that. Not even the chimpanzees, even though they are very, very intelligent. Chimpanzees can even learn sign language. Do you know that? There are many chimpanzees living in many sanctuaries who are treated by humans, and they show emotions. They hug their human caretakers. They show their response to their calls. And they live like a human. One chimpanzee also have learned to use tools to break down coconut husks, to eat it as, and even like to communicate in sign language, and to take care of the belongings. Like we arrange our room, we arrange the places we live. These chimpanzees can learn to associate that which things should be where. They can even be trained to learn how to cook or how to wear clothes. But in the wild, they do not do that yet. But we started doing it. We means our ancestors started doing it somewhere at this point, okay, to covering their body for protection purposes, which became a cultural part, integral part of the culture later on. Okay, now write down next. So Homo neanderthals, and we found the Neanderthal fossils very much in the east and the central Asia as well. So the current region where the China, Eurasia, China, India, these places we find caves, and in the caves we find Neanderthal species fossils. There's also something called Homo devisonian, and there are one or two more species of Homo that used to live at the same time in the same region. So the earlier concept that one evolved from the other in a linear way is not true anymore. We knew that there was a branching descent and there were more than one species of human living at the same time, Homo species living at the same time. But again, we had competition with each other for food and resources, and whoever was the best, survival of the fittest include two things: reproductive fitness and your intelligence to survive. So we were the best, and we outcompeted every other species. We hunted them, we killed them in wars and conflicts, and this is how we are the only survivors. This is what is believed by theory backed by proofs as per now. Okay, next write down. Neanderthals found in Asia, both central and eastern, everywhere in Asia. And from Neanderthals, we will come to Homo sapiens. This is what we are. So if you look back at Neanderthals, they were present around 1 lakh.
Sir?
Yes.
Sorry to interrupt, sir. Was there
No, it's fine. It's fine. Yeah, tell me.
skeletal changes in the past, like Homo habilis and Homo erectus?
Were there changes?
No, skeletal changes.
Yes, of course. Skeletal changes were there. Habilis were not that good walkers, so they could stand upright. They could also walk for some time, but when they will rest, they will just use their knuckles again, their hands. So they could, the difference between even a chimpanzee can walk on 2 legs, but not for very far. But a human can walk on 2 legs for the entire life. Even for like hundreds of kilometers, you can just keep walking because you are walking upright. You understand?
Yes, sir.
So when your posture becomes better and you have 2 free hands, like erectus started having, there were skeletal changes. Of course, there were changes in terms of the brain, head, skull, and also in terms of the eyes, this forehead. So as the brain capacity will increase, you will have better and more forehead. So what does this forehead tells you? So our brain starts from your eyebrows onwards. So it's in this chamber, which is called the cranial capacity. Can you see that?
Yes, sir.
If you see a monkey skeleton, their head just ends a little above their eyebrows. Go and look at a monkey skeleton. You will realize that how a monkey skeleton is different from a human skeleton, and how chimpanzee bridges in between, kind of thing. And also this part is called crown, where our eyebrows is. They had very prominent and bulged out crown. We do not have that bulged out crown. It's pretty flat for us. Our face is more set for a good vision. So there were subtle changes, of course. In the next class, I'll show you some bone, like anatomical evidences. So this is where we ended finally. And the records, fossil records for Homo sapiens goes as long as 75,000 years ago. Okay, 10,000 to 75,000 years ago. This is the spread where we find the fossils for Homo sapiens. Okay, and if you talk about the culture, sapiens started doing cave arts, which goes back. So cave arts have been dated to 18,000 years ago. Okay, and there were many species who were actually overlapping in these time frames. So it suggests that they were actually living together as different species of Homo. I think we just ran out. Okay, our time is done. So it took time, but it was worth a discussion. So I think, is it clear?
1 minute, sir.
Yes. And you can also add agriculture, and I'll just end with this. So Homo sapiens agricultural proofs. So we were the first species who realized that we can grow food, we can harvest food, or we can gather food from sources and we can keep it, because now we are settling. We are no more wanderers. We are settling in caves and places where we can store food. We can even cultivate food. So human settlements like the Indus Valley civilization being a very, very old settlement, Harappa and Mohenjo-daro settlements, they are very, very old settlements. If you see how the societal setup was there, I'm talking about, so these settlements also have proofs of big storehouses in every house, which were used to store grains and other edible things. So Homo sapiens started realizing that food is something that can be stored. So when you do not get it, you have stored. So this ensures two things: continuous nutrition and a better lifespan. And you are more reproductive fit to leave more progenies, because now you will not die in the next winter. You will have food stored. If you will not find anything to hunt or to grow, you can rely on the stored food. So evidences of agriculture goes as back as 10,000 years ago. So it's probably with the Homo sapiens becoming more advanced, and after the cave paintings, very recent thing in human evolution is agriculture. 50,000 years after today, when someone will dig the earth, they are going to find electronic waste and plastics, right? And then they will write in the books that Homo sapiens in 2022 were destroying the planet by making electronic wastes. It's non-biodegradable and plastics. Okay, instead of tools, and probably gun barrels, all these things. Okay, so I'll end here and we'll continue it in the next class, everyone. So take care. And if you have any doubts, please put